So hello friends, yesterday we have talked about the fundamentals of autonomic nervous system. Today we will be continuing the discussion on the autonomic nervous system, the important and very much important for your entrance exam. See, yesterday we have talked that we had some fibers which were long. So pre-sympathetic, pre-ganglionic, parasympathetic fibers were long, and post-ganglionic parasympathetic fibers were short. Preganglionic parasympathetic fibers were preganglionic sympathetic fibers were short. Postganglionic sympathetic fibers were long, isn't it? Isn't it? Guys, do we have, can we recall yesterday's topic? Yeah. So can I draw like this? Can I make a code? Can I make a code like this? This is how I remember. Okay, friends. So who can tell me what is number one from the previous discussion? What is number one? Guys, what is number one? Beautiful answer. It's parasympathetic nervous system. It's parasympathetic nervous system, guys. What is number two? What is number two, guys? Beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. It's a sympathetic nervous system. What is this, guys? I am talking about adrenal medulla. Which junction is here? Who can tell me the junction? Which receptors are present on adrenal medulla? Which receptors? Which receptors, guys? It's NN. It's NN, guys. Can I say this is also NN? Yes, sir. Can I say this is also NN? Yes, sir. What about fourth one, guys? Fourth one, it is a skeletal muscle. So which receptor? Which receptor, guys? Which receptor for fourth? Beautiful answer, Sunana. Beautiful answer. Rimsha, student, Priya, Sundas, Sodipal, NM. Okay, this is clear. This is definitely clear. Now, let us start a discussion, a small example, which is famous. No, utter famous example. No, utter famous example. Once I want to give you a distinction between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Now see, sympathetic nervous system is actually being, it's sympathy. It's showing sympathy. Means it is trying to cope up with that, emergency. So you also call it fair flight fight, isn't it? Fair flight fight system, you used to call it. So it's helping you to cope up with that emergency. So anytime you think of an emergency, it's not that it's not happening. It's happening right now also. Some hormones are changing. I'm going into high, I'm going into hyper, I'm speaking something with high attitude, I'm doing something with, low attitude. So it's not that emergency will come. It's only that sadness will happen. It's normally balanced in your body right now. Sometimes if you get more parasympathetic, sympathetic will start coming out, isn't it? If you want to have a balance, a normal homeostasis, you should have a balance between parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, isn't it? Isn't it, friend? So sympathetic nervous system, or I can say a thoracolumbar division of the ANS, it is, if I talk about like this, if I talk about parasympathetic is means normally. Think that normally, not normally. Think something is, it's okay. It's okay. Remember like this, it's okay. Okay. Sympathetic means what? Sympathetic means what? Are we clear about what I mean to say? Sympathetic means what? Huh? Oh, something. emergency. Is it clear? Is it clear, friends? Now listen to my words. Listen to an example which is utter famous example. I give you first an example of emergency. The best example there is a dog. I think I can't make a dog because it will be more like a cat. Okay. Now don't think something else. Okay. Don't think some things which are looking identical to some things. Have a good mind. Okay. Don't think something else. Okay. So this is a how to make a tongue, guys. Is it nose or tongue? Okay. Now what happens is this is a tongue and this is drooling, saliva drooling of this dog. He's looking at me. He should look at this boy. Oh yeah. See. Now I take an example that this is a boy. Okay, his name is Harry. Harry is a boy. What happens? He's coming from a nice dinner. He was with his girlfriend. They were on a candlelight dinner. They were on a candlelight dinner. Okay, so they were on a candlelight dinner. Sundas, can we understand? They were on a candlelight dinner. Okay. So they went to the candlelight dinner and they had some what? They had some what? They took some, what to take? What to eat? KFC. Okay. They went to KFC. KFC, candlelight dinner, what, something contradictory. Just giving an example because I have to tell you something. Okay, they were on a date. So what happens? Some people are, they are interested, more interested in this thing. So what will happen? They had some drumsticks. Okay, they had some drumsticks. Now you call it leg piece. Okay, chicken leg piece. They had a very nice dinner. Now Harry is coming. Okay, he left her girlfriend at home. Bye bye, goodbye, see you tomorrow. And with happy ending, transient ending. So this Harry will now. What will happen in Harry? Harry was going towards home. Now he encounters a dog. He encounters a dog in his, in that locality. Now this is Harry coming, he's energetic, he's happy, everything went well. Though his another girlfriend does not know, he's in many relationships. So, but still, he was saved today. But right now, while walking, he encounters a dog. Now, once he sees a dog, listen to my words. Once he sees a dog, his brain is automatically programmed since his childhood that a dog bites. Because in his childhood, he has seen, he has been taught, he has been trained by the parents, or he has been, he has seen that dog followed him. Okay. So with that fear, with that programmed, already pre-programmed data in his brain, what happens that he talks to all the six centers of his brain. He starts talking to all the six centers of the brain. He says to hippocampus, do we know what this dog does? Hippocampus goes to motor cortex, tells him, you have what? This bites. And when he bites, then he again talks to the other centers that his bite contains rabies, he will cause rabies. Okay. His bite can kill you. Yes, sir. His bite causes hydrophobia. Yes, sir. So all these things, all these thoughts will come. But right now you remember only final one thought, that you have to escape. You have to evade. You have to decrease the image size. You have to decrease the image size in your eye of this dog. You have to go so much far away such that the image size of the dog decreases, isn't it? Ophthalmologically, isn't it? So what will happen? Once it talks, now all the systems are activated. Now all the systems, listen to my words, all the systems are activated, guys. What? All the systems. Now can we see the size of the dog is big? The size of the dog is big. I have drawn Harry, a small guy. Can we see? Or they are proportionate? They are proportionate. Now, if it had been, now what will happen? Which system will activate? We just want this example for a reason. I will tell you why we keep giving this example. What will happen, guys? You will have a sympathetic surge, tremendous sympathetic outflow will happen. Tremendous sympathetic outflow will happen. Okay. What will happen, sir? Now tell me one thing. You right now require a great blood supply to your calf muscles. You require great blood supply to your calves, isn't it? Don't we require a great blood supply? So what will happen? These calf muscles need blood supply. Your gluteus maximus needs blood supply. Your flexors and extensors of the legs need blood supply. What will happen? That means more blood should be made available to these muscles. That means heart should do more work. That means heart should pump more, isn't it? If it pumps more, then it is giving more blood to you, isn't it? So what will happen to now with this concept, you have to look into every organ. Listen to me, if you want to conceptually understand, you have to have in your brain every organ of this Harry, what is happening at this moment. If you understand this example, then it becomes easy for you to give the drugs to understand emergency, sympathetic, non-sympathetic, okay, or parasympathetic. Now, heart rate should increase or decrease. Should you stimulate the heart or inhibit the heart? Should you stimulate the heart or inhibit the heart? You should stimulate the heart. That means you should. Now, what will happen to the heart? It will get stimulated. That is heart rate should increase. So what is it called? Called when heart rate is increased? What is it called? What is the term? No, chronotropic. It's producing positive. What? Do we know the terminologies? Chronotropic, dromotropic, inotropic action, plinotropic. We have forgot, sir. We have forgot, isn't it? Very good. That's a beautiful concept that we forget. Okay. Chronotropic. I will tell you 4 terms. Okay. Chronotropy. Just remember right now first chronotropy. Chronotropy means when your heart rate is changing. If someone is telling you, I have a chronotropic effect, first see 3 terminologies will come. If I say I have a chronotropic effect, guys, let me make it like this, because you always keep it in sense of chronotropy. No, chronotropic means heart rate is changing, delta, heart rate is changing. Now how much it is changing, now the terminologies will separate. If heart rate is increasing, we say positive chronotropic action has been initiated. If heart rate is decreasing, we say negative chronotropic action has been initiated. And if I have an agent which increases the heart rate, I call it positively chronotropic agent or positive chronotropic agent. If I have an agent, a drug, a chemical, a substance which decreases the heart rate, I say I have a negative chronotropic effect. This agent is negative chronotropic or negatively chronotropic. So heart rate, you have to remember the term chronotropic. Chrono means time, chronology, chrono, something like that. So chrono time, that is heart rate. Because heart rate is actually with respect to time. But when we say heart rate, we say 72 BPM, that's 72 beats per minute, isn't it? And once we say tachycardia, we say 100 beats per minute. Greater than 100 beats per minute, tachycardia. Less than 60 beats per minute, bradycardia. Standard, no, we say like this, isn't it? Dromotropic effect. Okay, let us make it concept here. Dromotropic effect is when you, dromotropic means conduction. What is the speed of conduction at the AV node? What is the speed of conduction at the AB node, we call it dromotropic effect. So conduction speed is dromotropic effect. Okay. Okay, friends. Easy. Have you understood these two? Next is inotropic effect. Inotropic effect is contractility. Ino means contractility. When you are contractility, let me write first. Contractility means the force of contraction of that cardiac muscle. The force of contraction of that cardiac muscle which I am generating is the inotropic effect, and this is definitely going to happen with the help of calcium ions, which we will be learning in the heart physiology. Okay. Fourth, you have bathmotropic effect. Bathmotropic. What is bathmotropic? Bathmotropic effect means what is the extent of excitability? What is the degree of excitability? What is the threshold? Are we clear? So what is the threshold, or what is the extent, or what is the degree of excitability? See how many things I can write, so that we should know these synonyms, so that we can understand. So if I say I have a positive chronotropic agent, it means I am increasing the heart rate. If I say it's a positive dromotropic effect, it means the conduction speed is happening faster. If I say I have a positive inotropic effect, it means I have an increased contractility, the contraction is happening more. If I say I have a positive bathmotropic effect, I say the extent, the threshold of excitability is more. Are we clear? If I say a negatively chronotropic effect, it means decrease in the heart rate. If I say negatively dromotropic effect, it means decrease in the conduction speed. If I say negative inotropic effect, it means decrease in the contractility. If I say negatively bathmotropic, it means decrease in threshold, decrease in the degree of excitability. I hope these all four terminologies are correct. No, understood. Okay, let us come back to the topic. This is first we have given an conceptual this. Now tell me, which effect do you see first? What should be the effect? If I say I want more blood, that means I should have what? I should increase the heart rate. I should increase the heart rate, isn't it? I should pump the blood more so that I can receive more blood. So I should have positive chronotropic effect or negative chronotropic effect. Should I have, beautiful answer, I should have a positive chronotropic effect. Should I also increase the contractility to have a greater degree of blood available to that site? Yes, sir. So should it have positive inotropic also? Will it also help me, the positive inotropic action? Very good, very nice, very nice, very good. So this is what is sympathetic happening to the heart. Now tell me one thing. If I talk about the lungs, okay guys, if I talk about the lungs, now do you want more air to come inside the lungs when you are in emergency, you have to run? Do you want more air or less air? Do you want more air or less air? I don't know why I love medicine. It's beautiful subject. Do you want more air? So do you want this bronchus to dilate or constrict? Do you want this bronchus to dilate or constrict? Yes, guys, answer. You will want this to dilate. That's a beautiful answer. So do you want bronchodilation or bronchoconstriction in sympathetic activity? Do you want bronchoconstriction or bronchodilation? That's a beautiful answer. So there will be bronchodilation. Bronchodilation, guys. Okay. Now tell me one thing. This Harry had came from the dinner and he had taken the drumsticks, leg pieces, isn't it? Now, at this moment, talking about the GIT, is it important to digest the leg piece or is it important to run? Is it important to digest the leg piece or it is important to run? It's important to run, guys, because if the person is not able to run, the dog will eat his leg piece. He will digest his leg piece. He will digest the leg piece of Harry. in the matter of digesting his leg piece, the dog will eat his leg piece. So what we have to do, we don't have to digest the leg piece right now. We want to divert the blood towards the important organs. We have to divert the blood towards the important organs. GIT we can digest later, guys. We can digest, it's not a problem. Okay. So what we do is, so that means digestion means motility. That means digestion means motility. That is, things are going more towards it. And you don't want to defecate also. You don't want to defecate also at that time. Do you want to defecate in front of the dog? So, Iqbal, do you want to defecate in front of the dog? No, sir, we don't want to sit there. Otherwise, think, sir, what will happen? Lacerations, okay? Avulsion injuries. So, what will happen? So, GI motility. Should I decrease the GI motility in sympathetic or increase the GI motility? Should I decrease the GI motility? That's a beautiful answer. So, decrease the GI motility, guys. Decrease the GI motility. Done. This much is done. Now going towards the urinary system, guys. Going to the urinary system. I'm making a representational diagrams here, guys. So do you want to urinate right now or do you want to run? You don't want to urinate. You don't want to urinate. You have to decrease urine outflow. Decrease urine outflow. Decrease urine outflow is happening. Now, another important concept which you forget, pupil. Now let me take this pupil here. Wow, what an eye. It's more of a square, isn't it? Eye has become an orbit now. So guys, this is the pupil. I will teach you the urinary incontinence, what happens in that sympathetic activity, why we have wetting, okay, why we have wetting in the fair. Okay, I will teach you that just for the purpose of sympathetic learning. Okay, so pupil, do you want, so you are seeing the dog. So do you want to move far away or do you want to, do you want a bigger picture of the view? Do you want to increase the field? Do you want to increase the view or do you want to narrow the view? Do you want more light coming to your eye or less light? You want more light. You want more light so that you can see a bigger field. You want more light because you want to see a bigger field. So that means I should increase the pupil. That is, I should dilate the pupil or constrict. I should dilate. So pupillodilation, isn't it? Dilation of the pupil will happen. So that term is called mydriasis. Dilation of pupil is called mydriasis. 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 Okay, mydriasis. I will be telling you why I'm pronouncing it like that, because you get confused in these terms in the exam. Mydriasis pupil. Now tell me one thing. What should I take next? I should take secretions, I think. Secretions, guys. Do you want right now to salivate? Do you want right now to secrete the pancreatic juice? Do you want right now to secrete a gastric juice? Do you want right now to do something which is inappropriate? It's not meeting with the conditions, guys. It's not meeting with the conditions. I don't want secretions. So there will be decrease of secretions except please don't take this concept half, except sweating. I hope I have taught you yesterday why sweating will happen. Thoracolumbar pathway. Thoracolumbar pathway, but acetylcholine receptor. Is it clear, friends? Is it clear? Now, can you today understand why this happens? I think students are not able, all are not able to understand. Yeah. Okay. So this is first an important concept. So tell me one thing. Now, please close your copy. Just close your copy, guys. Close your copy. Just answer me. So what happens if I am giving a sympathetic agent, that is adrenaline, noradrenaline. Remember first thing, adrenaline, noradrenaline are sympathetic agents. Acetylcholine, parasympathetic. Listen, these three only. We'll be teaching you more about the parasympathomimetics, acetylcholine, pilocarpine, bethanyl, methacholine, carbachol, physostigmine, tacrine, donepezil, rivastigmine, galantamine, neostigmine, pyridostigmine, adrophonium. I'll be telling you everything about them. But here, just purpose of conceptual review. You have to remember, first thing, once you are giving an adrenergic receptor agonist, can we understand this word? Or we are giving anything which can stimulate the adrenergic receptor, which we will be learning, it will do dash effects. What, sir? If I take the heart, it will cause increased heart rate, it will cause tachycardia, it will cause positive chronotropic action, it will cause positive dromotropic event, it will cause positive inotropic action also. If I go to the bronchus, it will cause bronchodilation. If I talk about GI motility, it will decrease the GI motility. That is, GI will be more in an arrest. GI will not be increasing its spike potentials. Excuse me. It will not be increasing its motility. Then we talk about the urinary tract. What will happen? It's not important right now in the emergency to urinate. I will be teaching you why in fair it happens. Okay, don't worry. But here, for the purpose of not to making you confused, just make it first a concept. What will happen, sir? This concept will not remain with you, because this you will forget by yourself. Why? Because you will understand now. Once I am teaching you something, you don't need to understand the dog example. You will yourself come to know that bronchus will dilate, urinary retention will happen, pupil will dilate, mydriasis will happen, secretions will decrease, except the sweating, hydrosis will happen. Okay, is it clear, friends? Is it clear? Now I give you next example. Now what is happening in sympathetic nervous system? The opposite will happen in parasympathetic. Now I am normally sitting, so do I want more heart rate? I am sitting at home teaching you. Okay, but right now I am in also in sympathetic activity. My heart rate, if I check it, see, my heart rate is in more on a greater size, isn't it? It's not high, more on that higher side. So, but I'm telling you, normally I'm sitting, I'm not doing an extraneous exercise, I'm not doing any, strenuous work. I should normally have a less heart rate. That is, I should have a normal heart rate. So no, heart rate will depress. So what should I write? If this is sympathetic, then parasympathetic, I should write with green. Parasympathetic should be, I remove this here so that you don't focus. So parasympathetic will be decreased heart rate. Bronchodilation, so parasympathetic will do bronchoconstriction. Decrease GI motility. Now I can digest, I'm sitting, so so increase GI motility, decrease urine outflow. Now I will increase the urine outflow. Okay, pupil mydriasis, opposite will be meiosis or meiosis. Meiosis will happen. Meiosis means constricted pupil. Mydriasis means big pupil. Big pupil. Meiosis means small. Spelling difference. MYDRIASIS. It's 9 alphabets, I think. MYDRIASIS. And if I see the alphabets of meiosis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So bigger one is mydriasis, so big pupil. Dilated pupil, mydriasis. Meiosis means small pupil. Are we clear, friends? Pupilloconstriction, meiosis. Pupillodilation, mydriasis. Okay. Secretions decrease, then secretions should increase. Are we friends clear? Can we give you another example so that it can be on the tip of your tongue? Okay. Now, for example, you are running or doing something. Okay, you are running. Once you start the jogging, once you start at home, you put the headphones in your ear, and we are with shorts. We are wearing those shoes. We are wearing those jogging shoes. We are ready. You can imagine. Now we left from the home. And now I know I have to run. I have to jog. What will happen is first heart rate will dash. Heart rate will dash. First I'm saying heart rate will dash. You just write initials, I can understand. Don't write the full sentence. Heart rate will dash. Heart rate will increase. So much time it takes for you to write, as if I'm asking something, as if I'm asking the medical management of, shock. So bronchus will dilate. True or false? Okay, let us write like this. Bronchus will dilate. GI motility will decrease. But that's a second thing, that with running, you are actually increasing the blood supply also to that region, and you are actually, having that. But we are talking right now about the GI motility at that moment. We are not saying, we are saying that GI motility which happens after the exercise is an overall moment. But right now we are under sympathetic surge. So at this moment, we will have a decreased GI motility. And I will have a urine retention. I will not have a urine outflow, except that I have a very high bladder. I have exceeded the bladder capacity. Okay. So pupil will go into mydriasis, because I want to see a big field, big green grass, big area, big ground. Okay. And secretions, I will be decreasing, except sweating will happen. Have you seen sweating happening in the jogging? My whole shirt gets wet, everything gets wet. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear? Now, can you explain a person who is playing a basketball that why you sweat? He says, I did not do anything. Why I'm sweating? He says, I did not do sweating. My mouth is dry. Everything has gone dry, but I am sweating. You can explain that concept that, yeah, thoracolumbar outflow, going to the, sweat glands, acetylcholine, increase the sympathetic activity. Okay. So I think this concept is clear. So we bring our discussion towards what? We're going to study now this was about sympathetic. I want to start the discussion from parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, friends, I want to start the discussion of parasympathetic nervous system. Now you have read everything about parasympathetic nervous system in your, first year actually, that how it is made, how acetylcholine is made. But here still I will give you a small review of how things are happening. Okay. Now see, friends, if I talk about the parasympathetic nervous system, see, the neurotransmitter which I have to use in parasympathetic nervous system is acetylcholine. This is first thing you have to remember, because parasympathetic nervous system is a cholinergic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is a cholinergic, isn't it? Cholinergic nervous system. Now you have to secrete these acetylcholine. Now tell me, in the parasympathetic nervous system, this was the preganglionic parasympathetic fiber, and it was coming in the ganglion, leaving the ganglion also and reaching to the target organ. The principal neurotransmitter, be it the parasympathetic, preganglionic or postganglionic parasympathetic, all of them were secreting dash. All of them were secreting dash. They were cholinergic, entirely cholinergic, guys. They were entirely cholinergic. They were entirely cholinergic. Easy. That means I should know how acetylcholine is being released, isn't it? Isn't it? I should know how this cholinergic nervous system is working. Now you know from your simple biochemistry that acetylcholine is made from is equal to acetyl-CoA plus choline. Once you bring these two together, you are going to make what? Acetylcholine. You are going to make acetylcholine. And once you make this acetylcholine, you store it in vesicles till an action potential comes to the neuron. till the action potential comes to the neuron, and till an action potential comes to the neuron, and it can release the vesicle on the junction. Now I am going to draw a neuromuscular junction for you so that you can understand the things. Okay. Now this is a neuromuscular junction. Let me take this. Now let me take this towards more downside. This is a muscular junction. Okay, this is muscle. Okay, or I can take any postsynaptic cell. Let me take the neuron also, because if I take the neuron, then you can. Let me take it muscle only. Okay, take it muscle only. Now friends, if we see this relation, you are saying, sir, acetylcholine is being deposited, and here it should have some receptors for acetylcholine. Let me make it with green. It should have receptors. This red should have receptors for acetylcholine. Acetylcholine receptor. Acetylcholine receptor. And acetylcholine will come from this side. Acetylcholine will come from this side. Okay. Now what will happen, guys, is what is the first step? First step is I take the choline inside this nerve terminal. The first step is I take the choline inside this nerve terminal. Okay. So that means uptake of choline. First, what I will do, uptake of choline. Uptake of choline. Now this choline is inside the nerve terminal. This choline is inside the nerve terminal. But remember one concept, that this uptake of choline is a rate limiting step, and slowest too. Is it clear, friends? If I have to make something in this factory, should I take the substrates first? I should take the things, raw materials inside, so that I can produce the product. The product is acetylcholine, and we know acetylcholine is made from acetyl-CoA and choline. That means first what will be happening, the choline will be taken inside. There will be uptake of the choline, and then this choline inside we have what acetyl-CoA. Inside we are making acetyl-CoA, isn't it? Now acetyl-CoA will combine. We have inside acetyl-CoA. I hope you remember from your biochemistry. We have acetyl-CoA, and this acetyl-CoA will combine with choline. What you will get? Now this CoA will be released, and what will join? Acetylcholine, ACH. Is it clear, friends? Rimsha student, is it clear? Everyone is clear? Because I'm asking step by step, because we don't want to make, confuse ourselves. Now you have made the acetylcholine. I should make more of a vesicle form. I should have more of a vesicle form. So you have made an acetylcholine. Isn't it? You have put it inside the vesicle. You have made the acetylcholine, and now you have put it inside the vesicle. Let me draw it more clean here. Okay. Let me draw it more clean so that you don't face any difficulty. So this uptake has happened by a pump. Okay. This place you have inserted things, and here you already have what? Now it has come inside what you have come inside? Choline. Now choline will combine with what? Choline will combine with acetyl-CoA. Isn't it? Acetyl-CoA. Now what will happen? Choline will be released, and here if I use the biochemistry, let me make it in a biochemical way. You came with choline, and this choline was combined with acetyl-CoA. This acetyl-CoA came here. Okay. And now what you are producing? ACH, and what you are releasing? CoA. Is it clear? Is it clear? And now ACH, this ACH, you are putting this in vesicle. Okay, now this vesicle, if you have to, it should first fuse. It should first fuse at this region so that it can be released at this junction. This is the mechanism how everything is happening. Simple way. This is the mechanism how everything is happening. Okay, is it clear? Now acetylcholine will act on dash receptors. Can we write the full name of the receptors, guys? Can we write the full name of the receptors? Yeah. Can we write the full name of the receptors? On which receptors will the acetylcholine act? Guys, what's up? I think you are sleeping. Acetylcholine receptors. Simple. Acetylcholine receptors, it will be working on. It will be working on acetylcholine receptors. Isn't it? It's easy, guys. It's easy. It's nothing so much, hard or fast. Something. It's simple. Now, I want to tell you one concept. The concept is that we have, we know that if this acetylcholine comes here, let me tell you a concept and then I will tell you the drugs. If acetylcholine is now released, it will bind to the receptors. It will bind to the receptors. But this should not be present for a persistent time. It should not be persistently present at the junction. It should not be persistently, acting on the junction. It should be destroyed. It should be destroyed also. So who is destroying it is an enzyme which is present in this NMJ. This enzyme is known as acetylcholine esterase. There is an enzyme here, acetylcholine esterase. Acetylcholine esterase will break this enzyme, this ACH again. Once this ACH is here, it will break it into two things again, acetate and choline. And this choline can be again reuptaken by this side. Is it clear? Are you able to understand the concept? I should not have a persistent effect, otherwise I will go into tetany. I will have rapid muscle spasm. I will be in a constant, contraction state. I should have someone to destroy this or break this acetylcholine into two, acetate and choline. Now choline will get recycled and acetate also will be further going to the metabolic pathways. Okay. Can we understand this concept? So how I recap this thing is, choline came inside, uptake of choline happened, inside it combined with acetyl-CoA, formed acetylcholine. This acetylcholine was put into the vesicle, and now after the appropriate and competent action potential is generated, this acetylcholine will fuse with the presynaptic membrane. So this is the presynaptic membrane, and then it will come in the neuromuscular junction, will join the acetylcholine receptor, and once it has done its action, this acetylcholine is broken down by the enzyme acetylcholinesterase into acetate and choline, and this choline is now recycled back inside the nerve axon terminal. Is it clear? Is it clear, my dears? Can we go one more step forward, guys? Can we go one more step forward with this concept? It's a beautiful concept, actually a beautiful concept. Can we tell you some drugs so that you can understand the concept? Can we tell you some drugs, which drugs are working at these sites? Okay. Let us tell you. If you want, we have a toxin, okay, that is called hemicoline. What? Let me make it with red. Okay, take the red color. So if you want to block this process, hemicoline, hemicoline, hemicoline. Is it clear? Hemi means half action, hemicoline, hemicoline. Now you were putting acetylcholine in the vesicles. We're putting it in the vesicles. So who will block this area? Vesamicol. Okay, vesamicol will not allow the ACH to deposit in the vesicles. It will not allow the ACH to deposit in the vesicles. Okay. Now I told you, once you have to release this acetylcholine should fuse. It should fuse with the presynaptic membrane, isn't it? Shouldn't it fuse? Syntaxins and synaptobrevins. Shouldn't it fuse? Syntaxins and synaptobrevins, and that docking mechanism will happen. This docking mechanism will, the two proteins will help in the, I hope I have taught you in the nerve physiology. Just refer to the lectures of neuron physiology. So this syntaxin synaptobrevin will join, and they will then, after the fusion, this vesicle will be released. Now who is preventing the release? Of this, this vesicle? It is botulinum toxin. Do you know botulinum? Botox injection you are doing? Botulinum toxin. So this place, botulinum toxin. Okay friends, botulinum toxin, where it is preventing the fusion at this moment. Are we clear? Okay, fine. Now tell me one thing. Who was destroying the acetylcholine, friends? Who was destroying the acetylcholine? Which enzyme? Acetylcholine esterase. That's a beautiful answer. Acetylcholine esterase. Now listen to my words. If I inhibit this acetylcholine esterase, will I have more amount of acetylcholine at the NMJ or less amount of acetylcholine at the NMJ, neuromuscular junction? I will have more amount of acetylcholine at the NMJ. Will I be maintaining the contraction? Will the purpose at that moment be that I want a sustained contraction? I want that ACH to reside at that point for a longer period of time. Should I think that I want that acetylcholine at that place for a longer period of time when I am giving this patient an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor? Guys, is it true or not? Yes, it's true. So can I give an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor to prevent the destruction, to prevent the the fission of this acetylcholine? Yes. So what I will do, which drug will occur there? Let me make it from this side. So this acetylcholine esterase is inhibited by acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. It is, for example, physostigmine, neostigmine, physostigmine, neostigmine. This was also blocking this was also blocking. That's why I put a cross. Is it clear? Is it clear, my friends? So can I say physostigmine has an increased parasympathomimetic activity? What is parasympathomimetic? I want to first make two concepts clear. One word you see, parasympathomimetic. Next term you see sympathomimetic. 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 Mimetic means mimicry. Mimetic means mimicry, means equal to, means doing the things what this thing used to be or what this thing does. For example, if I say this person is chocolatomimetic, it means it is tasting like a chocolate. If I say this thing is ice creamomimetic, it means it is like ice cream. It is behaving like ice cream. If I say this is happy mimetic, it means this is behaving happy. If I say it is sarcastomimetic, it means sarcasm, full of sarcasm. If I say it is sympathomimetic, it means it is behaving as if a sympathetic thing has been applied. Sympathomimetic. Parasympathomimetic means behaving like a parasympathetic or giving us the function of that parasympathetic nervous system. Can I say parasympatholytic means I am getting a, parasympathetic lighting means I am destroying. Just give me a second. There is something. Okay, friends, I'm back. Sorry for this. Yeah. So if I say parasympatholytic, now I say parasympatholytic. Lytic means it is destroying this parasympathetic. So can I in one way say that hemicolinum botulinum toxin vesamicol is parasympatholytic? Can I say it is parasympatholytic? That's a beautiful answer. Can I say physostigmine, neostigmine, these are parasympathomimetic? Physostigmine, yes sir. Why? Because sir, parasympathomimetic, because physostigmine, neostigmine are inhibiting the acetylcholine esterase. When they inhibit the acetylcholine esterase, they are actually increasing the levels of acetylcholine. How they are increasing? Because they are not letting the acetylcholine to get fissured, to get destroyed into acetyl, acetate and choline. And this gives us a persistent amount, the concentration of acetylcholine at the acetylcholine receptor at the neuromuscular junction, and hence I have a sustained contraction, sustained parasympathomimetic activity. Parasympathomimetic activity. Is it clear? So give us a true or false, sir. We want a true or false. Yes, we will give you true or false. Hemicolinum is a parasympathomimetic. False answer. Very nice, very nice. Because sir, hemicolinum is inhibiting the uptake. Once we have less uptake, that means we have less choline inside. If we have less choline inside, that means less choline available to join with the acetyl-CoA. That means less amount of acetylcholine. That means less amount of acetylcholine in the vesicle. That means less amount of acetylcholine to be released or fusion with the presynaptic membrane. That means less amount of acetylcholine at the neuromuscular junction. That means less amount of action at the neuromuscular junction. Now I am telling you, vesamicol is a parasympathomimetic. Vesamicol is a parasympathomimetic. It's a false answer. Why, sir? Because it is inhibiting the deposition or making the vesicle. Putting this acetylcholine in the vesicle. Once I am putting less acetylcholine in the vesicle, I will have less acetylcholine to be released at the neuromuscular junction. Less amount of acetylcholine thus available at the neuromuscular junction at the acetylcholine receptor. Botulinum toxin is a parasympatholytic. Beautiful answer. It's a true answer. Why? Because botulinum toxin inhibits the presynaptic fusion of this vesicle. Once I have less fusion of this presynaptic vesicle, I will have less amount of acetylcholine to be released, or I am not actually able to release. What I am saying, I'm not able to release acetylcholine at this presynaptic membrane. I'm not able to release. That means I have less parasympathomimetic action. That means I am having a parasympatholytic action. I give patient a drug that is physostigmine, and I tell the patient with a false belief I am actually doing a medical. It's actually a blunder. I am telling a patient take physostigmine and it will protect you from parasympathomimetic activity. Is it true or false? It will prevent you from parasympathomimetic. It's a false answer because it's itself increasing the amount of acetylcholine at this moment, at this place, at this site of neuromuscular junction. How it can help me in preventing the parasympathomimetic activity? Is it clear, friends? Are we done with this basic concepts of parasympathomimetic nervous system? Can we move forwards for more 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes so that we can more enjoy it? Okay. Can you tell me which place will I be affecting more in the parasympathetic? Which drug will totally shut down everything? Which drug will totally shut down from the above drugs? Don't watch your copies. Which will totally shut down everything? Beautiful answer. That's a beautiful answer. You guys have a bright future. Hemicolinium. Hemicolinium is inhibiting the total reuptake of choline. Is it clear, friends? Don't get confused in exams. First, once the examiner asks a question, listen to your brain first. Just talk to yourself first. Hemicolinium inhibits this. So what will happen? It's a parasympatholytic. That's the answer. The answer should come from your concepts, not from your notes, not from one-liner. No. Okay, friends. Okay. Now, if you are doing, sir, we are doing this parasympathomimetic nervous activity, there are different types of receptors. There are different types of receptors on which this activity is happening. We need to know about the receptors. So we call them, the receptors are known as cholinergic receptors. Cholinergic receptors. Cholinergic receptors are the receptors which are responding, which are the receptors of the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, cholinergic receptors are of two broad groups. They are nicotinic, they are muscarinic. Can any one of you from the second, third year tell me why they are called muscarinic? Can anyone from the second or third year tell me why they are called muscarinic? No. And you know, you are giving me the same answer. Once we tell you, you are an Arabic. So when we tell you, where are you from? It's one and the same thing. You are saying I am from Arab because they are present in mushroom. Okay. Should read the books, guys, not the notes. Okay. You should read the books. Please. Read the books. Okay. Books are your real treasures. Okay. Nicotinic, because you know nicotine is, you know, even a child guy also knows nicotine stimulated by nicotine, isn't it? It's stimulated by nicotine, simple. The receptors are stimulated by nicotine. They saw it in the experiment and now they're telling it's nicotinic. That's it. Nicotinic, we write N. Muscarinic, we depict with M. Nicotinic, further of two types. It can be an N, it can be an M. Muscarinic, we have at least, we have known in the books, we have 5 types of muscarinics: M1, M2, M3, M4, M5. But clinically significant to us are M1, M2, and M3. Clinically significant to us are M1, M2, M3. Are we able to understand, guys? So we have M1, we have M2, we have M3, we have M4, we have M5. So we have 3 which are significant for us. And what can you think? And where is the NN present? From the yesterday's diagram, what things come in your brain? Neuronal junction, neuronal junction. Can I write under the example of NN as adrenal medulla? Beautiful answer, Fabina. Can I write adrenal medulla? Can I write ganglion? Can I write ganglion as an example? Because ganglion is itself a collection of nerve fibers, and nerve fibers are talking to nerve fibers. Neuronal junction, neuronal junction. I don't know why I love medicine. NM is neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction. That is what a nerve is coming at the muscle fiber and talking to the muscle fiber. We say neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction, guys. Is it clear, friends? Is it clear? Okay, let us ask you, which of the following M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, NM, NN, which of the following receptors, all of you can answer, is responsible for memory function? Which of the following are responsible for memory function, guys? It's M1, guys. It's M1. M1 receptors are responsible for your memory function. They are responsible for your learning function. What we are doing right now, it's M1 receptors, guys. A beautiful nature, what a beautiful God. Okay. Is it clear? You know, when I tell you, let me give an interesting feature. You know, when I tell you, that's a beautiful answer. When I'm teaching you, so what happens? This rewarding behavior is by M5 receptors. Rewarding behavior, guys. This rewarding behavior is by M5. And also it has been seen in the research that M5 are responsible for dilation of cerebral arterioles. Dilation of cerebral arterioles. Cerebral arterioles, guys. Dilation of cerebral arterioles. So learning memory function M1. Okay. And you know what is M4 basically? You know, many research papers, they are saying that M4 is responsible. It's actually inhibiting the, you know, neuromuscular release at that moment. So you don't have to learn about M4, M5. Just we'll take you to the M3, M1, M2, M3. Okay. Talking about M1, M2, and M3, I want to make a conceptual, first make an orientation, the concept which we need. See, guys, in my all these years in this medical school, there is one problem what we are facing is we don't recognize what is present in more, what is present as more at some place and what is present less. Means I only understand, I see students doing this, and I also used to do is, I used to go home when I used to read the books. What happened to me is I used to keep a strict value. Remember, like M1 is present in this place. That's it. No, there are exceptional things also, and that exceptional things are to be only asked in the exam. They become the favorite questions of the examiner. Okay. Now remember, M1 receptor is present first in the, you have to remember, in the CNS. It is present in the CNS. M2 receptor is present in the heart tissue. In the heart tissue. Okay, this is brain. This is heart. And M3, I write direct others to make life easy. Now listen. Which organ is important? How to remember? Which organ is important from your point of view? Which organ between these three? Which organ is important? Guys, which organ is important? Beautiful answer. So can I remember now M1? Yeah, Rimsha, every is important, isn't it? Rimsha is trying to be smart, isn't it? It is present everywhere, but which organ is important for me to remember? Because if I go everywhere, then what will happen? In the exam day, I will be nowhere. In the exam day, I will be nowhere. That's for sure, guys. Okay, so we say important organ which can't resist hypoxia, which can't even tolerate hypoxia for 7 minutes. More than 7 minutes, it does not withstand hypoxia, guys. That's why it becomes important. So CNS, no, remember, I number CNS as 1 because it's present in the head. 1. Then how I remember 2? 2 M2. Remember M2, it's heart. Second important is heart. Second important is heart. This is how we remember receptors to make life easy. Otherwise, it will be a nightmare for you to remember every receptor. Because once I start speaking about receptors, like if I give an example like this, let me speak like this. I tell you which receptor is present in the eye. Now you tell me, sir, which receptor is present? I will say M3, M3. Then you will say, sir, which receptor is in the heart? M2, M2. Sir, which receptor in the lungs? M3, M3. Sir, which receptor in the GI tract? M3, M1, M3. Bladder, M3. Sphincter, M3. Blood vessels, M3. Glands, M3. Sir, how do you remember like this? Sir, you have something memory? No, it's not a memory. It's a concept. It's a concept. Yeah, memory is also there, but concept is also there. I remember them as others are M3. M2 is heart. M1 is CNS. M1 is CNS, guys. Is it clear? Is it clear, guys? So muscarinic 1 is present in the CNS. Muscarinic 2 in the heart. Muscarinic 3 at the other places. Now, sir, which place will we be facing the confusion? The confusion which will come on the day is which receptor is present in GI tract? What will be your answer? Which receptor is present in the GI tract? I knew we would give this answer, and you have to give this answer in the exam also. M3. But remember, there is also one receptor which is important. That's M1 receptor, which is increasing the secretion in your glands. M1 receptor, guys. So, but if examiner all over, if they ask you GIT, you have to write M3. But you don't have to forget that glands have M1. They have M1 in the GIT. Is it clear, friends? What about blood vessels? What about blood vessels, guys? What about blood vessels? Who can tell us about blood vessels? Yeah. So if I talk about blood vessels, see guys, blood vessels mostly predominant is M3. Mostly predominant is M3. But I have a question, guys. I have a question. Can I ask a question, guys? I have a question. A very smart question, okay? If I am giving someone an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor, I am giving someone an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. Now you tell me, guys, what will the acetylcholine esterase inhibitor do? Beautiful answer. They will inhibit they will inhibit the destruction of ACH. They will not allow they will actually prevent that enzyme to break. That means they will be increasing the levels. In that way, I'm telling they are increasing the levels of this. But tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. What if I give a blood vessel and I tell you that I am giving an ACHE inhibitor? What will happen to the blood vessel? What will happen to the blood vessel? Dilate or constrict? I am saying I am giving an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. Listen to my words. Acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. Will it dilate or constrict? Everyone should answer. This is a blood vessel. I am giving an acetylcholine esterase inhibitor. You told, sir, we have M3 receptors. Okay, done. M3 receptors. Anyone else? No effect. That's a beautiful answer. There will be no effect. There will be no effect because why there will be no effects? This boy, why there is no effect? Yes. Can you give us the reason why there is no effect? There should be a reason because you said no effect. Nitric oxide, not that. It's not that, my man. It's not that. Then it should dilate. Then it should dilate. Then it should dilate, man. If you are giving acetylcholine, I know that inside nitric oxide, it is coupled with nitric oxide, guys. It is coupled with nitric oxide. I know endothelium derived relaxing factor. But the reason is that the acetylcholine esterase inhibitor, no, that's not the answer. That's why you are mugging up things reading directly from the book. That's what I was calculating from you. Don't read from the book. Understand the reason. Okay, don't read from the book. It's a line written by Tripathi also. Stress is the reason is he has written more downwards you go in standard textbooks. You go to Goodman Gilman. He's writing it's because acetylcholine inhibitors are dash. Yeah, yes, friends. Acetylcholine inhibitors are neuron specific. Blood vessels here are not having the nerve supply, they are M3 receptors. It's site specific. That's the concept we want. A conceptual thing. It's site specific. Acetylcholine esterase, it will be only at the neuron. Where you have neuron, your drugs will work. That's why here you don't have any. Can we understand now? Can we understand? So acetylcholine esterase inhibitors don't have any effect on these blood vessels, guys. No effect on these blood vessels. Okay. Why? Because you don't have, still how you are stimulating M3? How you are stimulating M3 in the blood vessel? Do you have any circulating ACH? Do you have any circulating? I am saying, you are saying repeat. I am saying if you have a nerve, this is NMJ, then only your acetylcholine esterase inhibitor will work. In the blood vessel, I have an endothelium. You are yourself saying, sir, it is nitric oxide. I'm explaining your concept. So this is having M3 receptors. What receptors does the blood vessel have? We have alpha 1, beta 2, M3. We have alpha 1, beta 2. I will be teaching you this in adrenergic system, just giving you a concept. These receptors, out of these receptors, who is only getting the innervation? It's only alpha 1, alpha 1. I want to tell for your knowledge. If I draw blood vessel, we have what type of receptors? We have adrenergic and muscarinic. We have alpha 1, beta 2, M3. But out of these, from the very nice book of Goodman and Gilman, it's writing that alpha 1 is only innervated, guys. Alpha 1 is only innervated. But I'm asking you a question. Now, did you understood? Now, I'm asking you a question. M3, how you are able to produce an effect? Did you understood the first point why acetylcholinesterase is not able, acetylcholinesterase cannot work? Yeah. So now I'm asking another question, because we have taught you, now we are listening to the concepts. So how do you think this M3 will work? How do you think this M3 will work, guys? Do we have any circulating ACH? Do we have any circulating ACH? Where? I didn't see any guys. Where do you see? It's being destroyed in a second. Where is the circulating ACH? Where did you see? Where did you see? There is no circulating ACH. Where did you see the circulating ACH? Okay. But yeah, if you start infusing, if you start giving it through the injection, you start infusing, yeah, then you will have some M3 agonism. And then you will have what? Vasodilation. Because then the same concept comes that M3 is coupled with nitrous oxide. M3 is coupled with NO. Okay, or you also call it endothelium derived relaxing factor. Are we able to understand? Is it clear, friends? There is no nerve, so how we will be having this? This is basically site specific question, and this question will definitely be important because you only remember M1, M2, M3. Then we ask you what about blood vessel, then you get confused. That's what this person was doing. He was telling me the statement of the book. But what is the reason? There is no reason. Reason is this. Now I told you the reason, so you should remember, friends. Okay. Read conceptually. Okay. So this is what is happening. Okay. Next we will be continuing in the next discussion. I hope you have enjoyed this session. Take care. Stay safe in Corona. Please. God bless you and see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.